Good morning, everybody. How are we all doing today? Good. So, as Laura suggested, I'm the research director at Street Fight, and what we do on a regular basis is sometimes we commission some surveys by using a panel partner, but in this case, what we did is we did our own promotion, and we surveyed you. We basically surveyed the audience, the Street Fight audience. So we got a bunch of, agencies and vendors and a handful of publishers to tell us about what they think is hot and not in the tech space, in the hyperlocal tech space this year, and where they think things are going. So let's take a look at what some of the things we're finding out there look like. So let me give you a little bit of background on the survey. We promoted this internally and with our newsletters and on our website and things. We got about 80 plus respondents. They were all executive level. Most of them were VPs or C-level executives. And we, as I told you, we got a mix of agencies, technology suppliers, some data companies that sold data and analytics services, and some publishers as well. Hot or not, what kind of challenges and maybe solutions they might be seeing on the horizon, and then what to look for. So that's the way that I'll present my findings. And I'll leave a room for some questions at the end, I think, if people have some. So let's take a look at what's hot or not. And the first thing we wanted to do is we wanted to say, hey, you guys out there that are selling out there, what are your customers spending on? So we asked them where their customers were increasing their spending recently. And so you see that the top, and they could choose up to 3 different responses. So the top responses across the board were customers, whether they're small businesses or large national marketers who are targeting locally. Social media was right up there. Mobile marketing was pretty close. Local sites, data analytics. I don't think you're going to see too many surprises here, but the takeaway I would suggest from this one is that social and mobile are really sort of controlling the discussion, and that's where the dollars are flowing the most these days. So that's a good indicator of where you should do some of your own investments, right? So let's look at where people are doing their investments, whether the work is following the money or not. And again, so this is the share of the respondents who said, where are you spending your own efforts in terms of in your own marketing or your own R&D or whatever, and in terms of marketing and advertising technology. So I'll show you another slide about commerce technology a bit. So as you can see, the money is kind of, or the effort is following the money. Social media is right up at top, and data and analytics is very high. This is a recurring theme. In fact, this is one of probably the key takeaways from the research we did from this survey, is that data and analytics is really popping. That's the thing that people are investing the most in. The customers themselves are not necessarily spending directly on that yet, but it's a means to an end for most of the supply side of our little hyperlocal economy. And so compared with last year, the top 5 were pretty similar. Social is getting a little bit more focused than mobile did. Last year, mobile, we heard from Google this morning, I think this year really was the year of mobile, right? So perhaps, and a lot of social investments will get you to mobile customers too, since that's the way most users consume social media. But it perked up. Social came up a little bit higher than mobile did this year. Geo-targeting was twice as popular as last year's survey. So that's, if you're not investing in that kind of thing, you might want to think about it, because your competitors probably are. Streaming audio and video is up too. So whereas display advertising is kind of limping along, I suppose, the one sector in display that is hot is streaming. And if you want to compare the results across the different segments, the agencies, they were saying they were doing most of their investments in social and mobile. The tech companies are the ones that are spending a lot on data and analytics tools. So that's a little bit interesting. I mean, as a tech supplier who works through an agency, maybe the agencies need to have a little bit more of that data in front of them on themselves. And of course, the tech companies are driving geo-targeting. Publishers, big on content marketing and social. The data companies are the ones that are driving the dashboard investments, as you might expect. On the commerce side, data and analytics at the very top of commerce. Social media is still pretty high too, so it's social media is a sort of an indirect path towards transactions in most cases, but maybe people are experimenting a bit with actually committing the transaction through social media. I have mixed emotions about that myself. We could talk about later on, but it's probably a means to a pathway rather than a direct connection. And of course, hosting, loyalty programs, the kind of things you might see. They're not spending so much on beacons, on-demand services, chatbots, things like that may be either farther out in the future or may just not show the near-term payoffs that we're seeing. As compared with last year, data and analytics 3 times as popular this year as it was last year. So again, the data and the analytics tools behind what's driving commerce is a big source of focus for investment. Social's about the same. Mobile commerce kind of dropped off. So it's more, it's possible that this indicates a place of underinvestment, or maybe it's just that there's a handful of players that are doing serious work there and sort of kind of waiting for the for the rest of it to emerge. The agencies were the ones that were driving the work or driving the investment in sites and social. The tech companies, data, loyalty programs amongst their top things. Publishers were the ones that were kind of interested in payments, although it's probably for paying for their own content. So here's the what's not maybe side of the hot or not side. We asked our survey base, what hot topics are we talking about this year that we won't even be talking about next year? And the one that surprised us the most is voice search. Laura said earlier she thinks that's going to be a game changer. I do too, and I think that people are underestimating the role that voice as an input. Search is being disrupted on any number of different fronts in the local economy. So as an input, what you have to do to your sites, a lot of the voice search mechanisms are schema-based, so you have to do SEO differently than you're used to doing it. So I think that one is something to watch out for. Beacons was pretty much top of this list last year, and probably right? We're not talking a whole lot about beacons this year. Attribution is maybe underestimated as well, but the ones that, watch out for that one. I think this might be a disconnect here. It might be a misread from our audience. So what's the challenges that are going on out there that you as an industry, we as an industry are facing together these days? So this is the challenge for the industry overall. And the top challenge was dominated pretty much the agencies and the data guys were the ones that really drove this factor. And they said online to offline attribution is the biggest challenge driving the industry. But you can see there's enough other support, from the tech companies and the publishers to also agree with that. The tech companies were most bothered by domination by a handful of big suppliers, namely Apple, Google, Facebook, and the like. And the publishers were the ones that said there were too many suppliers, which in the whole ecosystem, which was resulting in a lot of low pricing. But that was also a kind of a big issue for the tech companies as well. So these are the three. So those are kind of the top issues facing the industry as a whole. We also asked people what were their key challenges for their own company. So what are they? What are the pain points they're feeling when they're trying to get their business done? And these were fairly similar results to last year, although some nuanced differences. And the differences seem to be, or the challenges seem to be a little tougher this year than they were last year. They sort of scored higher overall. And raising my own company's brand awareness is always a key challenge for companies. Selling to national brands that market locally, tough for the small suppliers. And then proving ROI or doing attribution successfully. So those are the kind of the top 3 challenges for each individual, for the individual companies out there. And let's look at some potential, if not solutions, at least things that could alleviate those challenges or help those problems. So in terms of raising brand awareness, one of the things we asked about was what is most effective at doing your own business? And you can see right at the top is our own sales force. And I would point back to the panel that we just saw on partnership management and reseller management and marketing as a key. Go grill those guys later on if you can, because I think that is a key part of the solution towards raising brand awareness for among, at the end result and with the customers of your own technologies and services. Social media marketing also appears to be pretty effective, and content marketing, as you might expect, as the sort of the top tools for getting the word out there. Selling to national brands is definitely, or national companies, big brands and retailers that are marketing locally is definitely a tough one. And we did a big survey earlier this year of national marketers who market locally, and there's a series of reports on all sorts of issues surrounding that, so I highly recommend you look at those. But here's some of the highlights from that analysis that we did. Their most difficult marketing challenges, in digital marketing challenges, was making technologies work together or overlapping and contradictory data analytics tools. So not necessarily data sources, but the tools that they were using to analyze them. So the thing that you can do to help them the most is probably, help them with that integration or make your products integratable, if at all possible. It's a tough sale because the decision making is distributed. So about a third of the companies were highly centralized and made all the decisions at headquarters and then rolled it out to the field offices or the branches. But another third were highly decentralized, and chances are you're going to have to get approval at both ends. If you're trying to sell a technology solution or a marketing solution to those big brands. Where their spending really is going, so not just much where you see it, but what they said they were increasing their spending on, they're very keen on social and mobile. And email, display, local sites. Don't forget email. Email is a very powerful piece of their strategy for reaching their customers. So you may not be able to replace the incumbent email supplier, but there's things you can do with your technologies or campaigns or programs that would complement their email. They're also pretty united in their as opposed to going to a single source solution. They like to pick best of breed components to the solution. They're willing to do that integration or work with a company to do that integration, even though they think it's hard to do, they're willing to do it. They're also quite comfortable with startups. Over 60% of them said they were comfortable with buying these kinds of things from a startup company. And over half of them, 54% of them, said local media was very important or quite important to their marketing programs. So those are potential partnerships, as we heard about a minute ago. This is some data from that survey of the national marketers, and so one of the things that you could help prove ROI to them is notice that email is their most effective. Social media they think is pretty effective, but they rate a lot of traditional media as more effective than a lot of digital media, and this presents an opportunity to digital marketing companies. I suppose it's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity to help them integrate their digital programs or your digital services with their traditional programs and campaigns. In small business, it's sort of different. This is a survey we did with Alignable, and their most effective stuff is digital. So helping them is a different kind of helping them prove ROI is probably a different kind of a challenge. It's less to do with doing integration and more to do with the following tricks. So for national to local marketers, help them connect their channels and help them translate data, because the kind of metrics you use when you're buying media or rating your own KPIs, proving your own ROI is probably vastly different across different channels. So if you can help them understand what digital metrics have anything to do with gross rating points, then you'll probably be doing them a favor. For the small businesses, it's less about connecting the channels and maybe connecting back office and front office and helping them with their marketing and sales. We did some work with ProspectWise, where we surveyed small businesses in the Los Angeles area. And one of the things that they saw was that when they added an agency, when they worked with an agency, their satisfaction in their own digital marketing went up quite dramatically. So the more you can help them connect your pieces through an agency is probably the best thing you can do for them. So what's going on out there? The big companies are the ones that tend to drive technologies first or adopt new technologies first. They're very keen on mobile push offerings, real-time location data, so they're getting into the data and the analytics, so they're not too far behind. A lot of them want to try out programmatic ad buying and selling across channels, and they really can't buy television in a programmatic way yet. So one of the things, if you're trying to sell them, if they say they're interested in programmatic, one of the things you want to do is find out what aspects of programmatic are they looking at targeting? Are they looking at different kinds of data sets? Are they looking at operational efficiencies? What do they really want when they say they want to do programmatic? So what's on the horizon? What do we look out for next year? Mobile is definitely disrupting search. That has implications for your content and for your schemas and your SEO. We believe that voice is a big deal. You'll have to address that. I think mobile and alternative payments could end up as the hub for cross-vendor, loyalty programs and things like that. So they might have started slow, but I think they're going to be important coming up. And I don't think we need to worry too much about multi-channel programmatic in the near term. And it does feel like, although there are some success stories, that beacons are really playing off in inventory management rather than marketing. So here's my takeaways. Happy to take a couple of questions. Everybody's spending on social, mobile. Data analytics is the glue that pulls these things together. Online to offline, the biggest challenge. Small business like digital, even more than the big brands do, but the big brands are the ones that push the new technologies, so you just have to deal with that. And then I do think this mobile impact on search and payments is probably going to be a bigger factor than maybe some of you might think it is soonest. So I've got time for a few questions because we're going into the break, but I don't want to keep you too long. But are there any questions out there? I appreciate your attention. Passing around any kind of, well, I'll be around all day, so grab me during the break or something if you have some details, and we can get the slides to you also. And thank you again. Head on to break.